Kamala Harris 8/17/24. Donald Trump attacks Kamala Harris over California crime. 2 questions. Donald Trump made an attempt to gain an advantage over Kamala Harris by making a reference to the activities she took while she was serving as the Attorney General of California. In a news conference that took place on August 15th at his golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, President Trump stated that Governor Harris and Governor Gavin Newsom destroyed San Francisco and the state of California as a whole with their policies toward the city of San Francisco. She's going to do the same thing to our country. It was the policies, the president stated. I didn't know this, but you're allowed to rob a store as long as it's not more than $950. He proceeded by saying, you can rob a store and you have these thieves going into stores with calculators to figure out how much it is, because if it's less than $950, they can rob it and not get charged for it. The fact that she did that is a fact. It is likely that Trump was referring to Proposition 47, a law that was approved in the state of California in 2014 and changed the classification of property crimes that were less than $950 and did not involve violence into misdemeanors rather than felonies. According to the Associated Press, the purpose of Proposition 47 was to prevent the congestion of jails in the state of California from increasing further. Additionally, the newly saved state funds were intended to be spent on school truancy and dropout prevention, mental health and substance abuse treatment, and victim services. Misdemeanors are judged to be less serious than felonies, and in the state of California, the maximum sentence for a misdemeanor is 1 year in jail or a fine of $1,000. On the other hand, what Trump may have suggested, they are still against the law. The assertion that Harris and Newsom were involved in the legislation was another one of Trump's statements that was probably not accurate. FactCheck.org says that Proposition 47 was codified in a referendum in 2014, during Jerry Brown's tenure as governor of California. There is no record of Harris expressing a position on it, which is common for California attorneys general who are not expected to weigh in on such legislation. Jerry Brown was the governor of California at the time. In November, Californians will vote on Proposition 36, which would result in some misdemeanors being treated as felonies, raising penalties, and increasing imprisonment for certain drug and theft crimes. Proposition 36 would also reverse some of the components that were included in Proposition 47. Trump has lately made more assertions on Harris's tenure as Attorney General of California. On August 8th, he stated that she and the current governor, Newsom, destroyed California during his press conference at Mar-a-Lago. After holding the role from 2011 until 2017, Harris went on to become the United States Senator representing the state of California, a position she will hold until 2021. During her tenure as Attorney General, Harris is well known for a number of accomplishments, including the launch of an open data program in the criminal justice system, participation in a multi-state effort to combat climate change, and the administration of protections for homeowners in California who are experiencing difficulties with foreclosure and mortgages. After that, Trump continued his attack on Harris during the press conference that took place on August 15th and stated, "I believe that I am entitled to personal attacks. My feelings toward her are not particularly admiring. There is a point of agreement between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump about the economy. The state of the economy is a primary concern for voters in the United States in the years leading up to the presidential election in 2024. In contrast to the economic policies of former President Donald Trump, how does the economic policy of Vice President Kamala Harris compare to those of Trump? There are significant grounds of disagreement between Harris and Trump on a variety of economic concepts. Yet, there are certain areas in which the two candidates are more in agreement with one another regarding the economy than you might expect. This is particularly true with regard to tariffs and trade, as stated by economic experts. There are definite convergences and similarities between their respective economic approaches, especially on trade. Inderjeet Parmar, a professor at the University of London who specializes in international politics. According to Wendy J. Schiller, a professor of political science at Brown University, there were discrepancies in the two individuals' perspectives toward tariffs. During an interview with Newsweek, she stated that both Trump and Harris would both use tariffs as an international negotiating tool primarily with China. However, she also stated that Harris would likely be less harsh and more selective. Those differences of approach related to the greater unilateralism/nationalism of Trump and the greater attachment to the liberal world system of Harris-Biden, Palmer explained to reporters. On the other hand, he warned that the tariffs on China will not go away, but likely intensify regardless of who wins the election. Lower taxes. A significant component of Trump's economic plan is the reduction of taxes. Moreover, they are for Harris as well. According to Schiller, both candidates will find a way to extend the Trump tax cuts that expire in 2025. Schiller made this statement to Newsweek. Trump would do it in order to solidify his legacy in that field, and Harris would do it in order to strengthen her prospects of being re-elected in 2028. The bills would look different in some respect, but each would maintain tax relief for lower and middle-class voters, Schiller explained to reporters. A job market for American employees. President Trump has repeatedly emphasized the importance of increasing manufacturing for U.S. economic and national security, and to create high-paying jobs for American workers, according to Iacovella. Schiller stated that the Republican nominee will want to continue the Biden administration policies of heavy investment in job development in emerging industries, like clean energy, as well as shoring up manufacturing at home. There is some degree of congruence between this and the Republican perspective on the economy. It would be a signal that Harris is part of a strong and growing bipartisan coalition of Democrats and Republicans who now recognize that trade and industrial policy are essential to growing our economy, creating high-paying jobs, increasing our industrial capacity, and strengthening our supply chains, according to Iacovella. If Harris continued the trade policies of the Biden-Harris administration, it would be a signal that she is a part of this coalition. What occurs next? It certainly looks as if Trump and Harris are in what one pundit recently called a tax policy arms race. He explained to reporters. But promising tax cuts here and there as a way of attracting political support does not necessarily make for sound economics. According to Schiller, who appeared in Newsweek, the American voter typically gives Republicans more credit for successful economies because they start their presidencies with tax cuts. This statement was made in reference to the fact that job creation has been better during the Democratic administration. She mad.